Hello, this is Minder Chen. In this lecture, we're going to focus on earned value management. Earned value management, EVM, is a technique that can help us to monitor and control a project based on the budget allocated for the project and the actual spending and the earned value, which will explain what that means. And this technique has been quite popular in the government agency for probably more than 40 years. And a lot of private companies are now using it to manage their project as well. So it's a little bit complicated, so let's take our time and then study it. And EVM help us to monitor our project performance, and we in order to keep kind of manage the performance of our project in terms of whether we're on track in terms of schedule or budget is a critical issue in terms of project monitoring and control. Are we ahead of schedule, on schedule, or behind schedule? Are we over budget, or we're under budget, or we're just right on target in terms of our spending during the project process? And the basic premise, which is important for earned value management, is that the value that you earned for working on piece of work or task or work package is equal to the amount of fund that have been budgeted to complete this piece of work. So basically, the earned value is measured in terms of the monetary value that's kind of assigned to complete the work. Okay, so this is an important assumption that you need to remember. And so let's study it a little bit. EVM help us to answer questions like, did I get my money worth, or did I spend my hours or days wisely? It is used to answer some basic questions. EVM use a common set of units. Basically, it's the dollar amount to compare the fund spent, the actual cost, the work plan, which is, we call it plan value, and the work done, which is the earned value, and based on the passage of time, a specific timeline. It allowed us to quantify in budgetary terms the value of all the project tasks, which is really the work packages. We can also look at the days work or product are supposed to be done based on particular day that we observe or evaluate a project. And it also allowed us to see when the work is actually done. And we also need to record how much money we have spent in order to complete a certain task. So a few terminology. The first one is called plan value, which is based on our budget baseline, which will explain what that is. And it used to be called the plan budget value of the work schedule. Simply, we just call it plan value. It's just easier to remember. And which is in terms of budget, this is how much money we're supposed to spend by this time to get certain things done. AC means actual cost. It's the actual cost of the work completed so far. Okay. And certainly for each work package, there's an actual cost. And for the whole project, we just aggregate all the actual costs of all the work packages under this project. And if we can figure out the percentage of the work completed and use that to multiply at a particular time the original budget amount. So for instance, you finished 50% of a particular task, and the budget allocated is like $100, and basically you earn $50. Okay, you may spend actually $200, but you only accomplish 50% of the work. And since the budget is $100, so basically your earned value is $50. Okay, let me just go through that again. You have a task. We budget $100 to get it done, and you already spent $200 so far. That's the actual cost. However, if we look at what you have accomplished, we find out you only finished 50% of the work. And so your earned value is actually basically 50% times the budget value, which means $50. So you earn $50, which is the earned value. All of this is in monetary term. Okay. And so EVM, the work that we is worth what is budgeted to complete it. Okay, so it's really tied to the budget, and certainly we need to figure out how much is considered completed. Okay, there's a rule to measure the percentage of completeness, or whether something is considered to be completed or not. We don't even need to know, for earned value, we don't even need to know how much money has been spent. So this actually, in calculating the earned value here, the actual money spent is really irrelevant. Although it could be useful later on in evaluating the performance of our project effort. Once again, three basic variable. One is planned value, used to call budget cost of work schedule, which is basically the budget so far to a certain period of time. And earned value, we explain, is the budget cost of work performed. It's the estimated budget cost of the work that has been completed so far. Okay, it's just called earned value. AC is actual cost. It's the actual cost that we spend to get the works that we have done so far. So it's actual cost of work performed. It's called just simply actual cost. But how do we determine when the task earned value? Okay, certainly if the task is done, then you earn 100% of the budget allocated for the task. Okay, if it is partially done, and then if you can estimate the percentage, then we can use the percentage and to time the budget associated with the task. Okay, and however, to estimate the percentage can be tricky. Okay, for any project. And just like, for instance, in a programming software project, and you're working on it, it's you spend 10 days, you think you're 90% done, but the last 10% can be extremely difficult. You end up spending another 10 days instead of maybe just another 2 days to finish it. So the first one is called percent complete method. The second one is called milestone method. Milestone method is the most conservative approach. Basically, your earned value is 0. Okay, until you complete the activity, which means when you really finish, then you earned 100% of the total activity budget. So it's very conservative. Another one's kind of middle row. It's it's the 50-50 method, which means that you earn nothing until you start it. And once you start it, they automatically assume you earn 50%. Okay, certainly this is not an accurate estimation, but estimation is difficult in our first methods. That's why we use kind of a simplified approach. If you have a lot of tasks, they're in different stage of completeness, then taking the average 50% may average out, which turned out to be a good estimation. That's kind of the rationale behind this approach. Okay, and definitely when you finish, you earn 100% of the budget. So just a little bit, the percent complete rule allowed us to frequently have checkpoints over duration of the work package, and then we'll assign the complete percentage in dollar term. For instance, if you're painting, if you're laying a floor for a really large house, then the square footage can be used to as a good estimation of percentage completed, comparing to the if you finish like 100 square feet for 1,000 square feet house, then you accomplish 10%. So that's kind of an easy case in this case. This here we kind of try not to allocate more than 80 or 90% until the work package is done, because there's a saying that in project management that the last 10% tends to be drag on quite a bit. So you try not to assign anything that's more than 80 or 90% until you make sure it's finished. Then they get 100%. Let's look at this, how these three rules can be used. For instance, for this particular task, it's $10,000 and we complete 100%. So in all three cases, we earned $10,000. The earned value is $10,000. For another task, it's $20,000. It's only 75% done. So based on percentage, it's basically this number times 75% that end up to be $15,000. If we use the 50-50 rule, since we started but we haven't finished yet, so we only use half this value over here. Milestone is the most conservative one, so you started, you done 75%, it's still considered zero. When you finish, then you get the whole $20,000. Okay, and same thing for this $30,000, because we finished 20%. 20% of $30,000 end up to be $6,000 based on the percentage complete. If it's 50-50, then we earn half of that $30,000, and milestone we still get zero. Okay, so you can see actually the number using three different rules may vary quite a bit. So you have to kind of pick if your project's task can be easily estimated, relatively speaking, in terms of percentage of completeness, then using the percentage complete probably make better sense. So EVM's data need to tie to work breakdown structure, the work package, and also the organization unit that you allocate a budget to both the work package and the organization unit. And so we can calculate the so-called schedule variance and cost variance by checking the difference between the earned value and the budget. That's actually your schedule variance. Earned value to the actual cost, that's the cost variance. We're going to explain this a little bit more. So variance, the variance, schedule variance, basically, and by the way, schedule variance and cost variance, they all started with the earned value, assuming you know the earned value. And if you earn the earned value minus the planned value, if it's greater than the difference is the schedule variance. You can tell whether you're ahead of schedule. If it's a positive number, you're ahead of schedule. If it's a negative number, you're behind schedule. Cost variance. If you earn the value you earn is greater than the actual cost that you spend, then the cost variance is positive, which means you're really productive in terms of getting things done regarding the money spent, and so the cost variance is positive. If the number is negative, in this case, that means you overspend. You're not very effective in terms of using the money to get things done. So positive is always a good thing in both cases. If it's positive, it means you're ahead of schedule and you're saving the money. You're under budget. Okay. So let's look at the charts here. Let's first find our budget line. The budget line is the planned value. This is actually the budget and how the money is supposed to spend over time. Okay. And this is the actual cost. Okay, the actual cost. So if we and this is the earned value, which means that we're supposed to get 75% done, but if you look at the earned value, if we use the percentage, we only earned 50%. So we're kind of behind schedule, and also, so if you look at what we're supposed to accomplish based on the budget, we should finish 70% of the work, but in reality we finish only 50%. So the earned value $200 minus planned value, which is $300, that end up giving us 100 minus $100. That's the schedule variance, which means we're kind of behind schedule. Okay, but the schedule, this minus 100, is really just using the monetary term to indicate we're behind schedule. We're not using day, hour in terms of unit of measure. And we also know that this is the actual spending that we spent to get this 50% done, indicate we overspend. So CV, cost variance, is the earned value over here minus actual cost. So this is actually the overspending. Okay, it's a negative value, which means we're over budget, and also we are behind schedule. Okay, because we only accomplished 50%, that's the earned value, instead of 75% as schedule. This is a similar diagram, so we can you pretty much know that whether you're behind schedule or under schedule, and this is the earned. In this case, this is the earned value. The earned value minus the actual cost, which is the cost variance. In this case, that's a positive number. So it's a positive number, which is a good thing. It means we're under budget. The schedule variance is actually the earned value minus planned value. In this case, the planned value is bigger than the earned value. In this case, our schedule variance is actually a negative number, which means it's not a good thing. It indicates we're behind schedule. this is the budget curve, and the scheduled ending day, and this number is called budget at completion. Okay, I think you're going to see this budget at completion in the previous slide here. Okay, however, since we're kind of running behind, so the estimated cost at completion may be higher. And also, this was scheduled ending day. We may end it a few later than the scheduled day. Just very quickly, we mentioned that the negative number for schedule variance or cost variance is considered not a good thing. Positive number is good. So here are 4 different combination in terms of schedule variance and cost variance. And let's look at the positive one. The positive one means you earn this much value, but you actually spend less money to accomplish that. So that's a good thing. And also, in terms of schedule, you're supposed to finish just this much, but the earned value, which means you actually get more accomplished. So in terms of schedule, that's also a plus. Okay, so you definitely want your earned value curve higher up. Okay, that's definitely a good thing. If your earned value is larger than AC and PV, then both are positive. Okay. The worst case scenario is the 2 examples we've seen. If it's the earned value, it's a particular time, or day, it's the smallest number. Then you got 2 negative. You're over budget, you're behind schedule. If it's in between, then for instance here, this is the schedule variance, and so it's a positive number. Schedule wise, we're ahead of schedule, but money wise, we're actually over budget. Okay, and this is the reverse. Here's just a summary and definition of what is EV earned value, what is planned value, what is actual cost variance, schedule variance, and that's the formula in its calculation. Budget cost at completion. There's something called estimated cost at completion, and ETC means estimated cost to complete the unfinishing business, the remaining work. Okay. VAC means cost variance at completion. Okay. This cost variance at a particular time. This is cost variance at completion means the time is when we finish. We can certainly get a sense of whether we're over budget or ahead of schedule using the variance, cost variance, schedule variance. And however, there's another way to measure the performance. One is cost performance. We use the ratio, the earned value divided by actual cost. That's the performance index. And scheduling performance index is called SPI, which is the earned value divided by planned value. Here, if you have 1, that means you're just on cost and on schedule. If it's greater than 1, that's really good. You're under cost or under budget, and you're ahead of schedule. And less than 1, which means you're over budget and you're behind schedule. Okay. So using the performance measures, particular index, schedule performance index or cost performance index, we can get a sense of whether we're spending our money effectively, and also we're using our time efficiently in terms of trying to get things done. Okay. the ratio give us a little bit better sense. The cost variance and the schedule variance is just a dollar amount, which doesn't really give us a very good sense of our performance. Let's look at a case study. This is the task here, and this is the kind of a budget allocated for each of the tasks. For instance, in week 1, if we allocate $10, and then week 2 is another $10, to get task A done. If you finish task A completely by week 2, then you earn $20. Okay. So so this is actually, we can aggregate all the allocated budget. That will be our total planned value for this period, and then we can add it up. That will be a cumulative planned value. Okay. So let's just use week 7 as example. By week 7, basically the planned value is 200. Here that's a cumulative total planned value. Okay. And if we spend more money in this case, it could, in this particular column, we're spending $30 more. That's the actual cost, $230. The earned value, the estimation of the determination of earned value depends on the percentage completeness as well. Okay, this is the planned value. So we finished, so it's 20. The planned value is 15. We finished, so this is 15 here. $100 planned value, we finished only 90%. That's $90. So this is how we calculate the earned value based on the percentage and the planned value, which is really just the budget. Okay, so that's the earned value. And if you use earned value to minus actual cost, that's our cost variance. Earned value minus planned value, that's our schedule variance. So we're overspending, over the budget, over cost, and we're behind schedule based on this number. And cost variance negative, schedule variance negative, which means we are behind schedule, we're over budget. And we can actually draw the Gantt chart based on that data we have throughout period 1 to 7. For instance, task A has been completed. So this is the baseline. This shape means baseline. If you complete it, that means it completed. Okay. And task, for instance, task C by period 7, task C hasn't been completed yet, so which means we need to extend it, and we expect to finish by period A, so that's the remaining duration. Okay, so we can draw the Gantt chart. The original Gantt chart is this, but based on the actual what's happening, we need to adjust it and redraw it so we can keep track of our schedule. Using our example, we can calculate the cost performance index, schedule performance index. So performance-wise, in terms of time, we are actually a little bit better in managing the time, but not as good in terms of managing the money. The percentage complete index is the earned value divided by budget at the completion. Okay, And this is in budget amount. So basically by period 7, in terms of budget amount, we only completed 50% of the work. Okay. And if we use the actual money spent and also the actual expected dollar for the complete project, then we end up having similar number, which is also around 50%. To estimate the total cost of completion, there are different ways to do it. And we can, this is one, we can use CPI. Okay. The actual cost plus ETC. ET stands for estimated cost to complete the remaining work. And we know the work remaining using the monetary term based on the budget. It's the budget at the completion and minus the earned value, which is the work remaining in monetary term. Once again, the CPI means earned value divided by actual cost. And so if you use this, then we can kind of basically adjust. If we tends to overspending 10%, then for the rest of the project, we just assume the allocated budget for you to complete, we probably will overspend 10% as well. That's kind of rationale behind it. Okay, so this is the calculation. However, there are other ways to estimate the cost to complete. One is just assume the cost will be exactly like what has been budgeted for. You already earned this value to finish the rest of it. Just the budget minus the earned value is basically the cost you're going to spend plus the actual cost that become the estimated cost to complete. We can also use CPI and use the budget at the completion divided by CPI will be our estimated cost of completion. The third formula is actually quite complicated. It's the actual cost and then the remaining kind of work to be done is the budget cost minus the earned value, and then divided by based on our performance index. Here we use, in previous slide, we used only the cost performance index, but if we calculate the schedule performance index, we can use both of them. But you can also take, let's say, 80%, you can use kind of weighted average. 80% rely on cost performance index and maybe 20% rely on schedule performance index. Okay. So this is just another diagram showing another case in terms of calculating the cost variance, schedule variance based on its earned value. So the budget at completion is $2,500, but the estimate cost to completion is this much. And the completion date will be over the scheduled day. One way you can kind of monitoring your project performance in terms of how we are doing in terms of managing the schedule and the budget is actually drove the chart tracking those variance. Could be the cost variance and schedule variance. So if you look at it, we have a negative schedule variance, but it's relatively steady, but we're not so good fortune in terms of cost variance, which means we're kind of over budget, and over time we're over the budget again and again proportionally. Okay, and And because of that, some of the management reserve are decreasing, which is not a good sign. Okay, there's a lot of maybe unexpected things. It could be that our estimation initially wasn't done accurately. So there's various reasons. Okay, when the performance is schedule variance, cost variance is negative number, it's an unfavorable performance. If it's a positive number, it's a favorable performance. Okay, the next few slides is really just from the project management book of knowledge document. It's a table to define each of the term and also tell you how they can be used. I'm going to just leave it to you. You can get the slide and study it, or stop the video and make sure you understand it. Okay, this is another one. We have the cost performance index, schedule performance index, and there's estimate at completion, estimated cost at completion, and estimate cost to complete the remaining work. And also this one we did not discuss. I'm going to skip it. It's a little bit more complicated. It's called the complete performance index. Okay, that's it for the earned value management. It's a little bit complicated, so you may need to study it a few times to fully understand how it can be used to help us to monitor and control our project based on the budget, based on the actual cost, and based on the value earned. And that's the basic essence of earned value management, EVM. Okay, that's it. Thank you.